All right, welcome to another episode of the 918 Files podcast. Today we are joined with Dana Harper and Michelle Lemieux. No relation to the hockey player, right?
No relation. Yeah.
I'm a Red Wings fan, so that's a good thing. That's why you're on here.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
so Dana, we'll start with you. We talked before; it was forever ago, but you have an extensive background in regards to the Mogollon Monster and everything that it involves. So can you kind of tell me just a little bit about your background and how you got involved with all this stuff?
Well, like you, I was involved with law enforcement, and the curiosity of just different reports that we get from time to time that the other deputies or officers or if you take a report like that, you know that the teasing you're going to get and from the other officers there when they hear the report that you made that night, or the commander for the next who knows how long, and then all the fun things they want to hang on your locker and tease you about. But the curiosity came from just so many things have been happening of that sighting. It started out as a scout going up to scout camp where you'd hear the story of the Mogollon Monster. And then as time went on, I had a television show that ran for about just a little under 4 years. And the family that had the Bradshaw Ranch had called Mitch because they kept having these sightings of Bigfoots coming on the property and things like that. So I thought that was very interesting, and talking to them and before Mitch when they were having all that stuff happening. It's very well documented for the Bradshaw Ranch if anyone wants to look that up on YouTube and just see for themselves some of the things. But it's ongoing, and you wouldn't think there'd really be that much to it, except that the ranch was taken away from them, is now owned by the Department of Energy, I believe, is the one that has the ownership of it.
And
So why
Bradshaw Ranches, that's a whole nother podcast. Like,
it's a whole other podcast.
yeah,
And all the things that they've gone there. But you've heard about the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah and some of the stuff that they've reported, but it's going all along that Duchesne area and the mountains in that area there. Just so many bizarre things that are happening that make any sense. But I look at the people, and the ones that I was always interested in, Jason, were law enforcement, former law enforcement, military, and former military were some of the ones, because to me, they were very credible. And when they were telling me what they had and sharing with me what they had seen, a lot of them didn't want it to go on the show, or they said they'd come maybe at a later time and talk about it. But they were just sharing the things of how it happened with them. And then with the Bigfoot, with my friends that are Native American, the Navajo, Apache, Hopi, just some of the things that they refuse to talk about. And then you become friends with them, and something happens, and then finally you'll see something and start asking the questions, or maybe something like in the Navajo Times where they ran a front page article talking about Bigfoot.
yeah. So basically, life is how you basically got into this, then, right? Just kind of, just bit by bit. And then, so Michelle, what's your background? Like, how did you get into the weeds with this stuff?
She seems like such a
Um,
nice girl. How could she even get involved with this kind
I
of
know,
stuff?
so innocent looking, but then here we are talking about
Yeah.
this stuff. But your
Interesting
background's cool
things.
though too, because again, if you talk about credibility, Michelle, you have it. So
Um, I got into Bigfoot probably because I was going on a 2-week road trip through Utah. And can you hear me okay?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. And I was gonna stay at Skinwalker Ranch. I was just gonna park there and stay.
Nope.
And I
Yeah.
just
Nope.
it just came up as one of those off the beaten path things. And people I told were so serious about, no, do not stay there. Absolutely not. And
Very
I
smart.
ended up, yeah, I ended up not staying there, but when I came back home, I started asking mainly Native Americans, anyone I'd meet, I started asking them about Skinwalker Ranch, about skinwalkers. And because they were so genuine, I was like, well, what else is possible? And to me, the most credible stories were the ones about Bigfoot because, like Dana said, it's usually highway patrolmen, farmers, ranchers. These are salt of the earth guys that they're not hippy dippy. They have no interest in most of that stuff, but they would say they'd seen something, and I tend to believe those kinds of people. These guys, most people, but most men do not want to be ridiculed. And so when they said they saw something weird and they don't change their story, I thought that was the most credible. So I just thought that was real. And then when I went looking for one, I got to see one. So
Yeah, so that you kind of talked yourself into like the foundation of the 918 files is TV, and the thing is 918 was the radio code for like mental illness, right? So if we had to do like a mental health pickup, the 918 was the radio code for that. So the way I applied it towards the book and the whole podcast and everything is the fact that it's kind of like there are people that experience and see things that if you come out and say that I've seen this or experienced this or whatever, they're going to label you as crazy, right? But even though you're
right.
not, because you do have those experiences. So in terms of like Bigfoot, Mogollon Monster, I started digging into this stuff a couple years ago, and it's actually part of the reason why it's one of our books. Is actually, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So I actually wrote our second book was based on the Mogollon Monster. It's this one up in Payson, but it's up by the Mogollon Rim because I just like the topic so much. But so basically, that was the core of the second book is basically centered on the Mogollon Monster. But the thing that gets me about Bigfoot and so I'm going to say this right now. Like, I don't 100% believe in Bigfoot because I've never seen it. I've never seen physical, actual hardcore evidence that says, here it is. But there's a ton of circumstantial evidence. And one of the biggest things that draws me to this is the fact that if you go out, and I'm a history nerd too. So if you go out through history, you have cultures that are geographically separated that didn't talk. So it was pre-YouTube, social media, all this other stuff. Like we're talking thousands of years ago. They're documenting the same thing that another culture is documenting, and they've never talked, but they're documenting the same thing. Like that, to me, that's kind of weird. So, that's my core belief and why this thing, there's some realism to it. But, so Dana, let me ask you this. So what is the Mogollon Monster? What do people say? Because we always say it's very similar to Bigfoot. Is it Bigfoot or is it just something that's pretty similar to it?
Well, the Native American people, that friends of mine that have been there, they they don't talk about it, first of all. And when they do talk about it, they talk about it as just another tribe of Indians that they're in this area and everyone is aware that they're in this area, but that it's just they've always been there. And when you talk to them, they'll say that they were there before they were there. So that there's been a history of that happening. And they just see them as the people that kind of care over the forest, the elk herds and everything.
And this is kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
For the news story that you sent.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the kicker too, is the part that when we talked about this before was how you mentioned they're kind of like their own tribe and they were there before the Native Americans were. That's something that's always, it's just so interesting to me.
And to them, it's no secret. To them, it's just common knowledge that this is what's going on and this is what's happening. And I find it interesting that to them, it is what it is. Where to us, we're like, oh, does it exist? We don't think it exists. Some say it exists. Some hunters have seen it. And like, I don't know that I was curious about it, but I don't think the curiosity level took the heights until I went with Mitch Waite and went out with him where this area was that he called the hot zone. And he guarded this area very specifically because he didn't want people to come and harass them or to take away from there or come in the area. And he was very protective of the area, but his photographs that he got were just amazing. And I don't even know why he allowed me to come with him up to the area and showed it to me. But
That's
once
cool.
he did, it was very interesting. And then as more things started to happen, he would confide and talk about other things and things that had happened. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting, we had a cameraman that passed away up there. We had another person that was with us that was one of the people that were investigating, and Mitch. They all ended up passing away. And so I just kind of stopped talking about it because I didn't know if someone's sending a message to be quiet and quit talking about it. You know, in the area where it was at, it was marked on the geographical map as an experimental forest.
Well, let me know where that's at so I can stay away from it too, by the way.
And let me know so I can go.
We'll share it on the next podcast, so stay tuned.
I worry about Michelle because she's so sweet. And it just there's ones that are there that are kind and good and they won't bother you, but there's other ones that I don't know what they would do if they had you and you were by yourself.
Yeah. So Michelle, you had your own experience too, right? Can you kind of tell us what your experience was in terms of this?
Yeah, so a friend of mine up in Sholo, he and his mom had seen one. And so he told me, and they saw one right outside of Sholo. And this was about, I think, like 3 weeks before we went. And I had a free weekend and I got a hold of him. And I was like, let's go look for Bigfoot. And my grandparents used to have a cabin up there. So I said, you know, why don't you come down and I'll go up and we'll meet there. So we did, and because it was last minute, it was already pretty late. And we met there, and I've never looked for Bigfoot. I have no idea where to go and what to look for. So there was a stream by our cabin. So I thought, well, everything needs a water source. Let's just follow this stream. We were out till about 3 a.m, didn't see anything, put some Skittles on some stumps here and there. And then we went and we watched Harry and the Hendersons to brush up on our knowledge. It was a Bigfoot weekend, and then we went to sleep. And the next day we went out and checked on the Skittles. Nothing had touched them. Squirrels don't want Skittles. They just bled out in the sun on the stumps. And so, you know, we were going to go home that night. And as we're heading home, he was following me down the mountain to the main highway so that then we could split up. And as he was following me down, to be perfectly honest, I said a prayer because I was like, come on, like, just let me see this stupid stuff. And like, what's it to you? Because I figure if there is a creator, he created all things and he created Bigfoot. So let me see it. And the thought that came to my mind was, oh, don't worry, you're going to see lots of them. But I just figured that was me, you know, talking to me. And I'm on the way home eating Skittles. So not even 3 minutes later, I turn a corner. On the left side of the road, there's this massive Bigfoot. And I think I talked to an expert once and they were like, oh, most people exaggerate how big they are. It was huge. My very first thought was, where on earth would you hide that? But it was on the left side of the road. My lights hit it. It had its hands up and it was facing the road. It dropped its big hands. It turned and it started walking. It did that walk, that long. Its hands were well below its knees, but it had hands. It had no neck, that dome head everyone talks about. It basically looked like the Hulk gorilla. Like, it looked like the body of the Hulk in that movie where it's really boxy, but then the head of a gorilla, and it just was massive. I didn't see its face because it was so big. I stood where it stood, and it was so big that I would come up to its hips. Its hips are just above me. Its head, you know how pine trees kind of grow up and then start sprouting branches? That's where its head was. It was huge. And I pulled over right away. I saw it. It turned. It started walking back into the woods. I pulled over. I got out of the car and was jumping in the middle of the road to flag my friend down. He jumped out and came towards me. I think he had his spotlight, or he ran back to the car and got his spotlight. But he was like, "What?" And I was like, "A Bigfoot!" Like it was so hard to actually say I saw it. But he ran into the woods after it with the spotlight. And I was like, well, I'm going with you. So I went in with him. And when he and his mom had seen the Bigfoot, she was so terrified. She was trembling the rest of the night. She was terrified. Her cognitive dissonance had just been shattered. She was in a state. And so when I saw it, I was jumping up and down. I was so happy. And he was like, this is the exact opposite of my mom's reaction. But we stood there for a little bit. We just felt like something watching us. And I was like, turn off your light. And he was like, what? Why? And I was like, I don't want him to think we're hunting them. I want a relationship. Now I know where they are, I want to develop something. And I was like, let's go. Let's just leave. And he's like, don't you want to look for footprints? And I was like, nope, I want to see them again. But I did leave Skittles on a stump there. And so we left. I called everyone I knew. I called my grandma first. And she was like, you don't know what you saw. I was like, Grandma, I sound crazy. I know what I saw. And I called my dad, who still doesn't want to believe me. Anyways, I was so excited.
He doesn't want to believe you ran into the woods looking for a massive creature, is what your dad.
Well, he doesn't want to believe me because it's very uncomfortable to say that your daughter saw Bigfoot. Like, people will think I'm nuts, and that's fine. But I saw what I saw.
It goes to the 918 mentality where when you tell people that you saw something odd, they're like, okay, quietly or even openly, they're like, crazy. But in reality, you know what you saw, and you know that's the thing. So
but I do want to say I went back to check on those Skittles, and a couple days later nothing had touched it, so I went back home. And then 2 days later I went back. I'm not wilderness girl. That was the first time I'd been in the woods in a very long time. But I went up 2 days after that, so it was like 4 days after I saw it, to check on them, but it was pitch black. And I just had my iPhone and my little camera, and it's off the side of the road, so I had to go into the woods, and I was like, this is a bad idea. It was so dark. But I got to the stump where they had been, and the Bigfoot had found the Skittles, loved the Skittles, shredded the stump, picked up the big tree that was next to it and shoved it. It was a disaster area. And I was like, oh, Skittles are a hit. And I've been feeding them ever since.
So I will say that you are crazy in terms of running into the woods with no flashlight multiple times.
I just get the sense that they're not, most of the time they just want to be left alone.
True, but
I've had them follow me. I've had them grunt at me. They don't really, I'm non-threatening, but.
You're braver than me, though. I'll give you that much. Like, I'm not running into the woods. Dana, you probably agree with me on that one, too.
My experience for the first time had nothing to do with, there was praying involved, but it was praying. I didn't have the gun. The gun was in the car, and it involved a very large rock that threw at the tree in front of me. And when I saw it up on the ridge there, I panicked. I just
like a normal person, unlike Michelle here.
Yeah.
Let's run towards the giant creature.
I've had them I've gone down to the Salt River and I was there till 2 in the morning and something across the river started throwing rocks at us. Me and the other person I was with, that he was freaking out and I was like, oh, we gotta go. Because if they wanted to hit you, they'd hit you. They just want you to leave so they can come down and get a drink.
Yeah.
They just want to be left alone.
I want to tell you also that with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department, we have been up in that area doing search and rescue, and there are mountain lions in that area too at nighttime. There's 3 that I know of up by the river right now. They're hunting and eating the horses that are wild there.
So yeah, it's a dangerous area for sure. But so Dana, let me ask you. You mentioned earlier you talked about Major Waite, one of my fellow Air Force guys. So let me ask you in terms of what's his background, what's his story. I know you said he passed away, unfortunately, but what was his research on this?
The real story that was the most amazing was the one that he really didn't get to share, was his days in the Air Force and working with Cheyenne Mountain, at Cheyenne Mountain. And that's the one there in Colorado that's in the mountain that goes all the way down for who knows how many levels.
Yep.
So that's the part that I thought was amazing. And when he retired from the Air Force, he had family that was avid hunters, and he was an avid hunter and fisherman. But he thought they had said that they'd seen something in this area, so he decided to take his tent and go in that area. And that's when he had something in the middle of the night push the tent down on him. And from that, he was hooked, and he was curious, and he wanted to figure out what it was, or prove that it's just somebody hoaxing it and it wasn't real at all, and he was going to catch him. But what happened, the road he ended up taking turned out to be something totally different, where he had some of the best photographs I'd ever seen. I said, well, are you going to like turn them over to anyone? He goes, why? This is just for me. He says, he heard them speaking in a language, not grunting or anything like that. They was almost like a Native American dialect. So he said, if they communicate, then he wants to know how to communicate with them. So he would do the same thing like Michelle was doing. There are definite treats that they do like. And his was kind of trial and error, what he would bring. And then when we would go up there, he'd always have us wear that red shirt right there that you see. I had one just like it that was red, because they would associate, no, that's Mitch's group, and they'd leave him alone. They wouldn't come and throw stuff at your tent at night or in your campground. They wouldn't. Most of the time they didn't raid the ice box, but they were curious, and they'd want to come around and look and stuff and look at it. And I know that there's a can that one of the juvenile Bigfoots got, and she got in the cooler and got some stuff out. And the nice thing was he caught it on a cam that he had, an infrared cam, and picked up the whole everything of her doing that. And that's when we realized that this Bigfoot wasn't a juvenile male, but it was a female. And it's very obvious to tell she's a female when she was in the ice chest.
That's
the camera. So
that's weird. So in regards to like this photo, this is Mitch in the middle with the red shirt, and there's you and with your glorious beard you got going on, and the guy over here to the left. I mean, that's
the father of the person that Michelle was with. That's the daddy.
Okay. The smart guy that said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Yeah, let's stay out of here.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Luke is a dear friend of ours, and he is his paradigm has been kind of open more than most people as far as what the realities are and possibilities. And when you look at something, how can something stay hidden and be as big as it is and stay hidden, but yet it happens all the time.
Yeah, because look at this print here. I mean, that's the cast or the molds or whatever from
that there. It's huge. I wear a size 15 shoe, and that thing was huge.
Yeah, that looks like a size like 40.
I know.
If they even make it.
So I'm looking at this and think I wear a size 15, and mine looks like a little kid footprint next to it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, this stuff it's something else. But so let me show, because a lot of the viewers or the people a lot of people, they don't realize that Arizona is not just deserts and cactus, and it's it's something more. But hold on, let me see if I can share this screen here of what the area that we're talking about actually looks like, because people are going to be like, oh my God. So if you can see it right here, this is up by the Mogollon Rim. I mean, this is not the Arizona that a lot of people think of, right?
No, and it's like 1,000,000-something acres, the largest forest one of the largest forests in the United States.
Yeah.
I think it's Colorado National Forest.
Well, let me see if I can. Yeah, here we go. So
Yep,
here's,
yep. Place to hide.
Yeah, and it's kind of like people just don't realize that this is also Arizona.
Right.
Like
And it's federal land. It's not private land, although there are little cabins along the way. But usually when those people die off, only a family member can get them. If you don't have a family member that wants them, then the government winds up getting them back, and they pay you a nominal fee to buy it back, but you're not allowed to sell it to somebody else, because there's a lot of ranchers that were in there that when they started to pass away, unless they had a direct family member that would buy and ranch, then they had to sell it off to the government.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if you've ever driven through here, it's pretty remote. There's nothing up there.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah. And the thing is too, I think, because my mom was big on this stuff, and sometimes, like, I try to stay as level-headed as I can, but my mom was very open-minded about what stuff is and what possibilities are. And you got to think outside the box sometimes too when you're talking about Bigfoot, because some people think, that, oh, he's hiding in this, they're hiding in this area, but I mean, who knows what you're dealing with, because you can get into some weird stuff. Like, you're talking like different dimensions and portals and.
Okay, in this one area where we would go, in this area, in one year, over 24 dogs went missing. And this place closed during the wintertime, so it's only when the season is open that they open up the gate and you're allowed to camp in this area. Mm-hmm. And Mitch tried to warn these people about coming with their dog, like, keep a leash on it because the dogs are disappearing. So then they go, well, my dog doesn't run off, it won't disappear. And he's trying to, in a nice way, say there's something out here that they're taking the dogs. So, and I don't think it was hungry mountain lions, because they didn't hear a yelp. The dog would just vanish. No yelp, no nothing. Or wander off and walk around the corner by a tree, and then they come to get the dog and call it back, and the dog's nowhere in sight.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff too, especially with dogs, because dogs usually alert. They see something like bark, and So
what could surpass that? A trusted dog that will bark at anything, even something that comes walking, and even something small like a raccoon, it would start barking at. But something as big that it wouldn't alert the owners of the dog.
Because I got a German short hair that barks at feathers, like, it's like the wind blows and she's barking. So Dana, let me ask you, what are the biggest issues right now in, like, Bigfoot research or just the Mogollon in general?
I think that if you want to go back on a federal government program, that there's people that are monitoring that, and that they are concerned because of the genetics and the inbreeding that's happening, because their habitat's being taken down, and they actually have people that specialize in that kind of a situation where they're monitoring, they're tagging, they're watching that. So will we ever find out about it? I doubt it. Those are all secret projects for whatever they're doing. And where do they live when they're not up on the ground? Are they under the ground? I mean, there's lots of mine shafts and holes in the ground and lava tubes, and I mean, there's places they could go and hide, and we'd never find them. I mean, look at all the people that go missing in the Superstition Mountains, and people are looking for them, and they still can't find them.
And that's, you just nailed it, because there's always so many people that are like, oh, why can't we find them? Why is there no evidence? It's like, you have thousands of missing people just in the United States alone that you can't find. So, and then if you're dealing with, like, a very small population of whatever these things are, and you're talking the huge expanses of land, I mean, and they're obviously intelligent because they stay away from humans for the most part. So, I mean, there's humans that stay away from other humans. So
there's another friend of mine that's former law enforcement that has a missing what is it called? I'm trying to think. He does the missing 411, and it's the all the people that go missing. Can Am Missing is the name of it. So if you go to canam.com, and David's places are where they track all these people that go missing, and it's mind blowing. And this is just in the forest, in the things that they can find, and even like in the public forest, there's no record really that's kept of that. If someone disappears, it's because your car's been left there, and we report it to the authorities, and someone will tow the car out of there, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just kind of like you always have these people, the skeptics, that are like, "Well, where's the evidence?"
Yep.
Like,
well, and David's been documenting this stuff now for quite a few years, so he's built up a pretty good database. And his frustrations as former law enforcement trying to get facts and figures from the U.S. Forest Service, and they just say that it's an inside record, and if he wants it, it's like $1 million to get the missing records.
It's crazy.
And it's like, well, why would you charge someone $1 million? It's an author that's writing a book.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to be known?
And the thing is, too, is when you talk about like evidence and whatnot, one of the things that frustrates me more than anything is there's so much fraud in regards to this topic, right? Even with even now with like UFO research and stuff like that, because you can make so many different videos that are fraudulent for UFOs and UAPs or whatever. But with like Bigfoot research, there's a ton of it. I mean, there's so many videos or photographs where I've seen where people that I thought were reliable are like, "Oh my God, I got a photo," and it looks like someone just went to the party store and bought a gorilla suit and took a photo of it, and you're like, "Bro, that's not even remotely close to being real." So, what are your thoughts on all the fake stuff that's out there with this?
Well, I know that people do that. I don't know why they would want to do that unless it's to try to do something with social media.
Yeah, clickbait.
Back in the day, I mean, it really wasn't doing that. People that did see it didn't want to talk about it because people would think that there's something wrong with them mentally. Because of that's what they were trying to do. So most of the people that I have talked to, a large percentage don't ever want to share their story on camera or even talk about it. But because they've known that we were doing this at one time, they just said, "Hey, we want to share with you. You're right on target. This is what happened to us when we were out hunting. And we had this experience, and that happened." And and these are people that go out in the wilderness with a compass and they could probably live out there for 2 weeks and just forage off the land. And like Mitch, when that happened to him, he stopped hunting. He no longer wanted to go hunting. So whatever was out there, he wanted to find out what is it and where does it come from and why is it there. And he didn't care who believed in it or not.
Exactly. And Michelle, like your background is medical, right? You're in the medical field. Like you have a solid background, and you're one of the type of people that, coming from law enforcement, when I go to find witnesses or people that are reporting odd things, there's certain boxes that I check. And like Michelle, yours is one of them. Like what's your take on some of the stuff that you've seen in regards to like the hoaxes and people just putting stuff out? Like, how does that, because I know it basically, I don't want to say disqualifies, but it kind of like negates when people like you report stuff.
I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of hoaxsters, but that's also why I don't look for footprints, because I don't really care to prove to anyone what I saw. If they believe me, they believe me. They don't. That's fine, because as a nurse, I remember people telling me they'd seen certain things, and my immediate thought was they must have had a break from reality. They're chemically imbalanced. Because that was what I had to, where to file these things. But the more I talk to people, the more I realize, especially after seeing the Bigfoot, I'm like, well, what else is out there? Why is this so taboo? If it's real, why aren't we talking about it? But I think it's because of, people need proof. And I always imagine, you know, some fishermen coming to a small village back when we didn't know everything and talking about this massive fish that could eat a house and people just writing them off until they saw a whale. And it's like you really won't believe it until you see it for yourself kind of thing. And even then people will talk themselves out of what they saw. But I don't think it matters if people go out and do these hoaxer things because I don't, even the pictures that I've taken, people will look at them and be like, why do they look so blurry? And that's, they're just a different kind of creature. It's hard to capture them. But
Yeah.
even the clearest of pictures, people won't believe now, especially since you can do everything to manipulate images.
Yeah,
So,
that's the scary part is like it's so easy to do fraudulent stuff now. So it kind of negates it takes
right.
away from the actual legitimate research. So
But I did want to say that my grandma, who really really wanted to believe me, she called me up one day and was like, "You know what I think you saw? I think you saw the Mogollon Monster." And I was like, "Well, yeah, Grandma." And my understanding was it was a Bigfoot, and I was like, "Well, yeah, Grandma, I might have seen one of them, but that's a Bigfoot." And that was news to her, but she tried so hard because I really was so genuine when I was calling everyone. I was so happy. I just, I didn't. When people don't change their story and they're only getting crap for it, you have to think they saw something.
yeah, exactly. When their story is the exact same over and over and over, nothing really
Yeah,
changes.
why would someone stick with this craziness? It's not improving their life.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too is that they're constantly finding new species and creatures and whatever on the earth, like in the oceans. I mean, there's parts of the ocean we've never even been to. So,
Right, and I wonder why this one is so taboo. Why can people discover incredible things elsewhere, but this one thing, why is it so taboo to talk about it?
and it
It's so
to me,
strange.
it's one of the ones that makes it's one of the ones that to me is not as weird because they keep finding. I read a story the other day about there's multiple different species of humans, or similar types of species to humans back in the day, and Homo sapiens are the ones that ended up surviving, right? But it's just kind of like, what if one of those is what Bigfoot actually is? You know what I'm saying? There's just so much, and like I'll go back to what we first started talking about at the beginning, where where it's the geographically separated cultures throughout history of time are reporting the similar things, and they have no reason to, right? It's not like they just made up a story and it's culture and folklore, but okay, then why is this other culture that they're not talking to each other have the same exact story, you know?
Right. Why are they called Yowies in Australia and rock apes in Vietnam? Like none of these people were talking and collaborated.
And the other weird thing too, when they talk about, there's no evidence, there's no whatever. If you genuinely think about it, I read once that they said that George Washington had no idea what the dinosaurs were, right? Because they hadn't found the fossils by that time of dinosaurs. So it's
Right.
you know, so it's kind of like
Well,
there's
the
just
term dinosaur wasn't even coined until I think the early 1800s.
Jason, I think they referred to them too as dragons when they would talk about the
Right.
dragons.
yeah.
But what is the value of the DNA? We know that in law enforcement, the DNA is evidence.
Yeah.
So when we can pull the DNA and we can find the DNA, or where does the DNA go when you start researching that with the technology and the computers that we have to research that stuff?
Yeah.
And we get something different that's coming up, that we've got things that are different than maybe the narrative that we've been told. So what is our history? Is it a crypto history that's hidden that we don't know? Is there more to it?
Yeah.
You look before, and the creationist versus the Darwinist, what they say, that everything just kind of goes its own way. And I can remember them talking about that. And that was a big deal for the Christians, saying that the earth is only 5,000 years old. But now it's accepted that it's older than that.
Yep. And they're, because like I said, I believe wholeheartedly in God and heaven and everything else, but I also think that there's a lot of interpretation of what all of it is. So
I do think that if you do see these things, you start to question a lot of things. And I think the idea of keeping it as taboo keeps you in this little box, and you're content to stay in this little box, distracted, entertained, grinding. But
yeah.
not everywhere has been explored. Not everything has been seen or discovered. And I do think if you do see more of these things, it makes life just so much more interesting.
I agree.
But it makes you want to leave that box.
Yeah. I mean, I just never understood people that have the mentality of like, nope, I only want to see it this way, and that's it. I mean, they're the same people that thought the earth was
Well,
flat, right?
I think
Yeah.
it scares people too, because
Yeah.
it might disrupt their interpretation of religion, or
And again,
who
like,
knows.
not to get too far into the weeds, but I absolutely think you can still believe in God and believe in other things. Like the world is a weird place. So,
I agree. I definitely.
you know,
Right. And how could we possibly think we're more creative than something above us? Like,
yeah,
if we ourselves have come up with more creative things than dinosaurs, I don't know.
I always just try to remind people of, because again, not to get too off topic, but when they talk about like UFOs and aliens visiting Earth and the distances and it's so far and it's impossible, it's like, well, maybe you think of in terms of what you know. So if I know that from
Right.
LA to Miami, it's X amount of distance and I need to travel in a car to go that distance or a plane. Well, maybe there's another way to do that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's just a different way that we don't even know about to do those distances and stuff like that. So, but
Right.
anyway,
We don't know everything yet.
just to go back to the Bigfoot stuff is like, again, until you show me that there is absolutely no proof whatsoever that this thing, it doesn't exist, I'm still going to have that mentality of like, well, it might be. And the investigative cop part of me I just love this stuff because it's like, it's so interesting to go down that foxhole to see what you find. So I'm just not running into the woods.
That'll be Michelle do that.
Oh look, there's an Undertaker looking thing that's hairy. I'm gonna go run into the woods and see what it is. Like, that's not gonna be me.
I'm more afraid of people, so.
Yeah, I hear you. Well,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of people too, some of them, but also big hairy things that are in the woods. So no thanks.
I will say though that the land is different out there. Kind of like I think it's similar to Skinwalker Ranch, where they say like that land is cursed. Or you move into a home and the home feels weird because you don't know what's been there before or what's happened there before. Something happened to this land where the Bigfoots are. And because I've gone through portals there several times too, and so has my friend Luke. He's in the area where he saw the Bigfoot he saw. And so I think that the missing 411, I think a lot of people go missing because there are things there that we don't understand that can
Yep.
kind of move you. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's
Like,
strange.
I could do a whole nother podcast on that too. And I've also done a lot of research on like missing persons, and there's some cases that are just like, but again, it ties into the Bigfoot realm of, why can't we find this thing? And it's like, well, how about you find one of the thousands of missing people that are on those lists with police departments? Like, go with that.
Yeah.
But so anyway, well, Dana, Michelle, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Hey, Jason, tell your
Yeah.
viewers thank you for taking the time to listen to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's an honor to
Thank
be here
you.
with you, your viewers. And anytime you want to talk, I'm always happy to talk to you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But Michelle, I'm not going to hang out with you. Sorry.
I hope you have weird experiences all your own.
Same, but already now that I know more of your habits, I'm gonna like, hey Jason, you want to go to the Mogollon Rim and go do? Nope, not happening.
That's
So-
okay. I'll tell you about them.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys.
All right. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Yep. Goodbye.
All right. Bye.